Welcome to the second of our programs celebrating the 55th anniversary of The Sky at Night. Well, we did it in two parts. Last month, you remember, I selected 55 of my favourite objects in the sky visible this month and asked viewers to look at them and make drawings or comments about them. And we had an amazing reception from all over the British Isles, Europe, even from America. And it really was fascinating to see how much people learned from it. So, with me are my usual guests, Christian Zopp, Pete Lawrence, and Paul Abel. And welcome also to John Colshaw, who looks more about me than I do myself.
I too. Very happy to do so.
I don't know the difference. Well, there we are then. Let's go. And let's start with you, Chris.
Sure. I think the really interesting thing was that people clearly had a lot of fun doing this. I certainly did. As you say, I found things that I'd never seen before. We had a lot of people showing their friends and family the sky, parents showing their kids the sky, kids showing their parents the sky more often than not. I think, and I was amazed by the variety of what people saw, and also by the few people who managed to see all 55. I certainly didn't get anywhere close, so I'm impressed with them, certainly.
I had in my time, but certainly not only 1 month.
Sure, this month was tricky, but John, why don't you guide us on our way? Where do we start?
Well, the perfect starting point of the moon.
Of course, yes.
Moon, many observations. It's so many people's favourite subject.
But what was it about the moon that...
I was showing it through a telescope. I hadn't realised there were things like mountains and glaciers there. And as soon as I saw that, I realised this is something indifferent.
Yeah,
I got onto it.
It really does draw you in, but even though it's a really easy thing to see in the night sky, it was actually starting to move out of the way at the beginning of April, and a number of people actually managed to get round that by seeing it during the daylight.
Yeah, so Pete Glastonbury from Wiltshire, for example, he says easily visible in the daylight above houses in the east.
There's a wonderful description of a lunar observation here from Philip Jennings of York. He's got a wonderful turn of phrase. It appeared very large and custard-coloured, rising over the dark Lakeland fells and surrounded by billowing pink cloud. It's like something Les Dawson would have written. It's lovely.
It's a great book title. The Custard-Coloured Moon.
Custard-coloured moon.
A romance.
Yes,
Got that feel to it.
Of course, Mars is number 6. I love Mars.
This first encounter with Mars, because we meet it a bit later on, was really a sort of naked eye view of it. And the one thing which really stands out when you look at Mars with a naked eye is its colour.
Yes.
I mean, it's intensely orangey, peachy orange.
A wonderful copper new penny. Sort of. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, of course, Mars can actually get bright enough to be the second brightest planet, but the planet which actually takes the crown of being the brightest planet of them all is Venus, and that's number 7 on the Moore Marathon.
It's been stunning in the evening skies, hasn't it? Like an oil lamp out at
It is
sea.
like, yeah.
So lovely thing like with the naked eye, many of us are the goddess of love and beauty. Can hardly be a more unpleasant world.
No, that's right.
I missed it.
Did you miss it?
Cloudy.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
But Martin Campbell mentioned that it was low in the west and it looked like a searchlight, and I think that sums up Venus beautifully.
Terry Hooper from Fleet sums it up for me. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
One word, beautiful.
So number 10 then, Spiker. I'll be honest, I don't know why this is on the list.
This is great. Why not? What have you got against Spiker?
Because Saturn was nearby, and who's going to look at Spiker when you've got Saturn nearby?
Spica is a really lovely star. Okay. It's the brightest star in the constellation of Virgo.
It is.
And it's very, very white in colour.
Shall we move on to number 13? I'm looking for some. The Hyades.
Ah, yes. In fact, we've got 2, haven't we? We've got the Hyades at number 13 and the Pleiades at number 14.
Yeah.
So we've got the 2 beautiful open clusters in Taurus the Bull.
I always find the Hyades best with binoculars. I think telescope and the Pleiades as well. The telescope just spreads it out too much.
I did like Pat Clough from Wickham Astronomical Society saw the Hyades. She says very low west, fading into the London exhaust fumes. If that's not poetic city astronomy, I don't know what
Maybe we should
is.
get a book going on that, poetic astronomy.
I think absolutely.
Perfect binocular object.
How many stars can you see in the Pleiades with the naked eye?
From here, I have counted on a very good night 15.
That's
very good.
I got one more than you, 16, and from your garden.
Oh, but it may have been 7.
I think one's 80.
The record is 90, my highest.
It's very important to realise astronomy is not a competitive sport at this point. But it is a good sign of your sky and your eyesight. But Pete and Paul, as our veteran observers, throughout April, despite the horrible weather, I know you were keeping video diaries. So let's take a look and see how you got on.
So we're going to do the more marathon tonight, Mitten. What do you reckon? I know, it is not looking promising, is it?
Well, I'm here in my garden again now, and now I can see the moon rising up above the trees over there. And if I look at it very carefully, I can just about make out the tiny circular features, which is known as the Mare Crisium.
Torrential rain, wind, gales. Oh,
And there, and wow.
really chose a bad time to start the more marathon.
There's the planet Jupiter, and above Jupiter, the brilliant planet Venus. Just make out the twinkling stars next to Venus. They are the Pleiades Seven Sisters. And that's another entry in the More Marathon.
I do feel a bit guilty because we did have a brief clearing at the start of April, and I thought, I've got plenty of time, I'll do it later. But
Scorpio, the W constellation, the seated queen. And that's another entry on the More Marathon.
I'm going to put the time in. I'm going to wait up until 3:15 in the morning
Wow, that is stunning.
and see if we get anything.
Polaris, I can never say.
So, fingers crossed.
La Superba, to give it its proper name, Y. Canem Venaticorum.
Blowing again out there.
It's great, I'm really pleased I've seen that one.
It's so cold as well.
3813, that's the Great Globular Cluster in Hercules.
Oh, why did I leave it so long?
The sky is starting to get lighter, I think, because dawn is approaching. I'm pretty tired, but I'm really glad that I have now completed the More Marathon. Good night.
Well, Pete, absolutely La Superba from you. Wonderful, wonderful. Paul, well, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
So the next object couldn't be more different.
Oh,
Why,
goodness,
could it, John?
yes.
Oh, the International Space Station.
It's a crowd pleaser.
It is a crowd,
Yes.
yes. I don't regard it as astronomy, but when you point out to people and say that there's human beings in that,
It pushes through any kind of light pollution. It's not bothered.
It does.
it's
Yeah,
so bright
exactly.
and incredibly bright.
I liked the comment from David Winham in Newcastle, who says, my father lives 6 miles away from me, watches the predicted time of the ISS fly past as well, and from his garden and I from my flat window, we await for the ISS to appear in the night sky. And it's that social thing of realising it's passing overhead that I really like.
Number 17, then, Chris, you want to pronounce this.
Yeah, this is. I actually think this is the most disappointing object. I was hoping we'd resolve the mystery. This is Zubanen Shamali, or the Northern Claw, which is actually the brightest star in the zodiacal constellation of Libra.
That's right.
People say it's the only single naked I saw, which is green, but I think there's a lot of wishful thinking.
We didn't get a single comment saying that it appeared green.
Well, I think the best thing about that star is that it's called Zubanen Shamali.
Zubanen Shamali.
It's fun to say.
Zubanen Shamali.
So number 21 then, 55 Cancri.
Yes.
Not much to see here.
No, as you said earlier, Chris, this is the theorist's object.
Yeah, this is an object to think about because I think it's the brightest star, apart from the sun, of course, that we know has planets going around
Right.
it. And we've detected signs of 5 planets, the smallest of them about a tenth of the mass of Jupiter, orbiting this world. And I still get a huge kick out of looking at a star in the sky and knowing that it has a solar system.
I particularly like the comment by Chris Pierce. This is quite nice, Patrick. He says, fairly ordinary start till I learned the fact that it has 5 orbiting planets. I wonder if someone on those planets has a more marathon to do and is looking at our sun with invisible planets thinking the same thing. I think that's quite lovely.
I quite agree.
If they didn't send in their forms though, so
They've got a
we
lot.
haven't heard from
They're
them.
maybe en route.
Right.
Anyway, if we go from the spring sky again and spring into the summer sky, we're coming back to actually one which was quite tricky again. This is the summer triangle, and it's tricky because you have to wait until the early hours to actually see all three stars above the horizon. A number of people actually commented that Altair was playing peekaboo with the clouds on the horizon. That's from Wayne Young in Berkshire.
Rebecca Taylor says could still see it at this time of morning, 0520. Birds very vocal. I presume she means the wildlife.
Oh, yeah, and another complaint, Patrick. Didn't you? Summer Triangle was the name you popularised, right? Yes. Well, I've got a complaint for you by Eddie Carpenter from Gloucestershire. I know it's an anniversary, but we should deal with complaints. He says, often think that the Summer Triangle should be called the Autumn Triangle because it's easier to see when it's in the early hours of the evening.
But you know what I say, it should be the winter triangle.
Right.
This is for ages once it comes up. It is right the way through to December. You can see the summer triangle.
Yeah, I have to say I like seeing it this time of year because you know that the warm nights of summer, short though they are really on their way.
So where do we get to next?
Object 24, of course, Sagittarius, or at least the form of the teapot, the asteroid.
Not a teapot.
It is a teapot.
You see it, I
like a
cannot
teapot.
see it as
There's a
anything.
teapot there.
It's a very angular teapot. It's got a triangular
like a
handle and a
teapot.
triangular top. Well, what do you see it as?
I don't see anything with it.
No, okay, well, to me it's a teapot hanging there just on the
to
horizon.
me, I'm afraid.
Wayne Young from Thatcham in Berkshire said, could just see it sitting on the horizon. That's exactly how I see it, just sitting there. As the sky started to brighten as dawn approached, he'd never seen it from the UK before. So,
Oh, that's brilliant.
So, Patrick, I've got a question about the next one, which is Alphard. Which is why on earth is Alphard on the list? It's a nice enough star, but there's nothing.
Solitary one, it's right by itself. It's a lonely star. I enjoy looking at it.
So we should pay some attention to it.
Steve Elliott actually summed this up brilliantly because he said, another new one I have not paid much attention to. It is well named as there's not a lot around it.
It needs comforting.
Exactly. Well, now, Patrick, we have a chance to speak to some of the participants of the Moore Marathon actually on the telephone. And first we're going to go to Glasgow and we have Nicola McIntyre. Hi there to you.
Hi there.
And so how was your Moore Marathon experience? Did you get a great many of them done?
Yeah, we did. We don't have a telescope as yet, so we just done most of the naked eye ones, but we had great fun.
Who else joined you to do it?
It was my two sons, Christopher and Jamie.
How many objects did you get in total?
Managed to see all of the naked eye ones on our own, so that was great.
That's a substantial more than me. Well done. I only managed 5 on account of the poor weather, but
That right?
everyone's had a good laugh except me. Never mind. Thank you very much for taking part. I hope you continue in the future.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Nice to have heard you.
Well, now we go back to the Moore Marathon lines and we go to Fareham and we're joined by Graham and Kaylee Walker, father and daughter. Hi there to you.
Oh, hi there.
Hello there. Oh, you're both. How many did you get?
16.
16, that's pretty good. That's more than some of the Sky at Night team, I have to say. So you're doing rather well. Kaylee, which were your favourite objects?
The double star and the moon. I think that's quite cool.
Yeah.
Because I saw the craters. It's amazing.
Nice to have heard you. After all, I was 7 when I started, which was 83 years ago.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Thanks,
Well done.
Excellent. Well, let's move on to the binocular objects.
So number 26, the coat hanger cluster.
But it's not a cluster.
It's not a cluster.
It's actually, this is another asterism. And it's called that because, amazingly, it looks like a coat hanger, an upside-down coat hanger when you look at it through binoculars. You can see it with the naked eye as well.
Martin Campbell from Northern Ireland agrees to you. It does look like a coat hanger.
It's exactly like a coat hanger, but those stars are not, they were not formed together. It's just a chance alignment.
Another example is, of course, the double cluster.
Yeah,
which
this
the
is
next
a
one.
lovely thing.
But these are real clusters. These are actually clusters of stars which have all formed out of the same material.
I always think it's like you've got a black cushion, you spill sugar all over it. The double cluster looks something like that.
That's great, actually. That's a
That's
good.
quite pretty.
Chris Pierce actually says, nice cluster, very low in the sky, but lost slightly due to neighbours' outside lights. Turn those lights off.
Chris, go around and tell them to turn them off.
That's a moment when you'd need Patrick's kind of sense of humour. The neighbour's lights are on and there's nothing we can do about it. Or maybe there is.
So why don't we come back closer to home for the next object?
Yes.
One of your favourite lunar craters, Patrick, Tycho.
Tycho Brahe, as it should be. One of the brightest craters on the moon.
With the rays.
I like Tycho because if you imagine the moon as a beach ball, I think Tycho would be the air valve.
You could write a book on this, alternative astronomical interpretations.
It's like the moon is a beach ball and Tycho is where the air goes in.
No idea who you're being there. No.
The next object on the Moore Marathon list is one of my favourite because of the name. And this is La Superba, or Y. Canum venaticorum.
La Superba.
You know why it's called La Superba.
I do. Well, let's talk about why it's famous first, because it's this beautiful, very red ruby star.
And I have to be honest, I didn't really know what it was. I thought it was a galaxy. So I spent 15 minutes looking for this wretched galaxy. No doubt, La Superba popping in and out all the time. I said, Pete, I can't find it. And then he had to tell me it was actually a red star.
Anyway, the point is, and actually, you weren't the only one. Sarah Dunwood from Warrington in Cheshire said, imaged a number of these objects, was particularly pleased to have found La Superba, which took some patience. So well done to Sarah. But the reason it's called this isn't anything to do with the colour at all. So when they started taking spectra of the stars in the 19th century, splitting the light up into its constituent parts and looking for the signatures of elements, there was this ridiculously unusual spectrum. They saw the signature of carbon in the atmosphere of the star.
Right.
And so it's called La Superba because of what it looks like, not through an eyepiece, but through a spectroscope.
I've got an image now of these spectroscopists.
An Italian spectroscopist
Looking at the spectrum and going, La Superba!
That's precisely how it was, and the name stuck.
Had it been discovered in Luton, it might have been called the Very Nice.
Patrick, at this point in the marathon, I'm going to take a sit down and a bit of a rest, because some people have been doing the Moore Marathon in groups, and John went along to the Hampshire Astronomical Group to see what they were doing.
It's a very windy day in Hampshire, overlooking the village of Clanfield. It's not raining at least, but unless this wind dies down, we won't be able to open the domes and see some more of those breathtaking astronomical objects as part of the Moore Marathon catalogue. Well, I've very much been enjoying taking on the challenge of the Moore Marathon at my home in Lancashire, and in London too, despite some of the light pollution. And I'm glad to say I managed to get a fair few on that list, such as the Moon and Mars and Polaris and the Pleiades, the rings of Saturn, as well as some of those deeper sky objects such as M81 and M82 and the Beehive Cluster and La Superba, that wonderful red star. But I've come here to this wonderfully atmospheric spot to join the Hampshire Astronomical Group here in the village of Clanfield, and I hope they'll help me find a few more on that list of the Moore Marathon. The group is 52 years old, and they finally settled on the Clanfield site back in 1972. They have nearly 200 members and run star parties and events all year round. And with them tonight is that stalwart and very good friend of the Sky at Night, John Mason. And John's been relishing playing his part in the Moore Marathon.
Right, let's go. Mind your head.
Wow, this is majestic, isn't it?
Fantastic telescope. It's a beautiful dome. This is a 24-inch Newtonian reflector. What I like about the Moore Marathon is that you've got objects in there where you don't need a telescope like this to get involved.
Yes.
You can just use the number one eyeball. And the great thing is you've got objects that everybody can look at, and then you've got some really lovely objects that you need a big telescope for and are more taxing and more difficult.
So, what would you say have been some of the more challenging objects for the real dedicated amongst those?
Well, in terms of challenging objects, probably the galaxies, because they're fainter, and because I think a lot of people have this idea, because they see these lovely pictures in the books, they think, oh, I'm going to look through a telescope and it's going to look like that. Now, unfortunately, of course, that's not the case. Even with a big telescope like this, you need a very clear night, you need very dark skies, you need the air to be steady, you need everything to be going for you. The Sombrero Galaxy, M104 in Virgo, now that is quite a beautiful object. People see the pictures in the Hubble Heritage Image and think, oh wow, but when you look at it, it's not quite like that. But it's great to see these things for yourselves. You know, I think it doesn't matter the fact that it doesn't, what you're seeing is nothing like the Hubble image. Actually seeing the real thing, so important.
The group have gathered outside now to look at the magnificent sight of the Moon and Venus together. But I want to tick off the belt of Venus, which is the shadow of the Earth in space. It's a Moore Marathon object which, so far, has eluded me.
To see the belt of Venus, you need it to be clear where the sun has just gone down, and you also need it, most importantly, to be clear towards the east. Now, unfortunately, it's completely cloudy over there. If it wasn't cloudy, what we would see is the Earth's shadow would be below, and then we see this pink belt blending into the sky above, and that pink belt is the belt of Venus. And we don't really know why it's called the belt of Venus. It's got nothing to do with the planet Venus at all, but the pink colour is basically backscattered light from the setting sun.
Well, still no luck with the belt of Venus. We'll just have to try again another time. The skies are darkening very nicely, but the wind is still howling around us, but that's not putting off the observers.
I've ticked a few off with the Moon, Venus and the Mare Crisium, which are all on the list.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Any
it's
more
good.
that you're hoping to aim for as the night goes on and more objects begin to rise?
If we get the telescopes open, then I'd like to do M51 if possible, the Whirlpool Galaxy.
Iapetus, the Moon Iapetus around Saturn. I don't think that's possible personally, actually, but it's on the list, so I'm going to have a go.
I'd like to see the Sombrero Galaxy. I've never seen that, so
that'd be good.
we'll have to wait till it's darker, obviously.
Now then, hi there, Pat and Janet. Now you've got that wonderful image of Venus in the scope there. Isn't that something? That's absolutely wonderful. And so, what has your Moore Marathon campaign been like?
Oh, very, very interesting. Find some things I didn't know about.
Oh, really?
So
What
I've
are they?
got the belt of Venus, for one. Yes. And the Cheshire Cat,
Oh, yes.
which I'd not heard of as an asterism.
Yes, an asterism.
Yes.
And so, what are you looking for tonight? Any on your list?
Well, I've
to
really
track
enjoyed
down?
looking at the moon. I love observing the moon.
Yes.
And so the craters of Tycho Braheus that were on the marathon we've seen, and lovely view tonight.
It's a magnificent
Yes.
And there goes the International Space Station, Moore Marathon number 15.
So there it is, just coming out from that bit of cloud there, just to the left, that hook of cloud. Nice clear patch there now. And of course, this is not a very favourable pass, so it's only about as bright as Sirius, about mag minus 1.2, something like that. But it's on the list, it's on the Moore Marathon.
Well, we managed to see some good things tonight. The wind, though, has been unforgiving, so we missed out on the galaxies, I'm afraid. But it's been great fun to share the Moore Marathon quest with fellow astronomers. Yes, you can never tire of the moon.
Well, John, you certainly look like you were having fun there and got some clear skies as well with
Yes.
your mean feet.
Some clouds, but enough clarity to work with, and they were a great team there, a really great team.
Excellent. Well, with that determined spirit, let's press on to our telescopic objects.
Well, of course, my favourite object is bound to be Saturn, and frankly, you can't see much with the naked eye, and not much with binoculars either.
I can't believe we left it this late. This is the rings of Saturn, which we managed to get through Saturn and separate out the rings because they are just stunning, particularly at the minute when they're tilted about 13 degrees, so we can really see them well. So there's a comment from Sarah Dunwood, who viewed Saturn with her telescope, just a small one, and she says, it's the first time I'd seen the rings through the telescope, and it was a really great moment, particularly as the eyepiece view was so clear. She was so impressed, she woke up her husband to tell him about it. So I hope he enjoyed the view of Saturn's rings as much as she did, because that would have been early morning, I imagine. So a wow moment for both halves of the family there, I think.
Brilliant.
Let me whisk you right out to the outer universe again. Hold on to your seat, Pete. We're out to the Whirlpool Galaxy. This is a glorious picture right behind you, NN51, but it's actually surprisingly difficult to find because it's face on and thus faded out. But we had Steve Elliott, surprisingly given its popularity, I hadn't seen this before. We have Jeff Stevens saying the second observation that captured my attention was the Whirlpool Galaxy, something I'd attempted to observe before but with no success, and he succeeded. Dave Moulton from North Wales, from Flintshire, said face on, perfectly placed, but you need plenty of aperture to see the details. I think that's fair enough.
I think you did. I just about make out some details of my 8-inch telescope.
Can see them.
Yeah.
Well, reaching number 49, we're into the last mile of this Moor Marathon, and we haven't hit the wall, and we're not going to, as we reach Syrtis Major on Mars.
What does it look like in a modern telescope?
V-shaped shaded region on the planet. To be perfectly honest, if you use a really low power, you're not going to like this, but to me, it looks like a pair of Y fronts. It does. It has that appearance on the planet.
So number 49 then, that's Syrtis Major. That takes us into the 50s now, and it's Messier 81 and 82. Quite magnificent.
Fabulous pair of galaxies. It's just absolutely stunning.
I rather like Rebecca Taylor's frontages. Looks like a couple of smudges. Brilliant, 2 for 1. So the next object, this is 52. This is a lovely thing.
Yes, it's a beauty. In order to get the Lagoon Nebula, you had to get up at an awful time in the morning, or stay up until the awful time in the morning.
Martin Campbell from Dungannon in Northern Ireland says a tantalising object, which is about right, rich in colour and complexity. And it really is exactly that. It's worth looking for if you head south for holidays. Keep an eye on the lagoon.
Yes, Steve Elliott points that out. In fact, says, I've seen this from southerly latitudes many times. Part of the steam coming out of the teapot spouts.
It's a fine sight as we race for home.
We're on to the final one.
Push on, we can do this.
We've now got the crowd cheering us on. The Albirio is the first object I ever saw in the telescope.
Was it?
It was. It's at the base of Cygnus, a beautiful double star.
It was the last object in the MO 155.
Really?
What colours do you see it as? Because there's all these romantic descriptions of it.
Albirio, primary golden yellow, secondary emerald green.
Emerald green.
There's nothing like
There's a great description here from Keith Moore in Doncaster, and he says, Albirio, the first time I saw it, was like Saturn all over again. Amazing. And I think that's fabulous. I know exactly how he feels.
Now, another Moor Marathon observer on the telephone now. Sarah Dunwood, you're in Warrington, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, how did you get on with the weather and other factors with the Moor Marathon?
The weather was absolutely shocking. I think I've actually managed 5 nights outside out of the month so far.
Well, Paul Abel can certainly relate to that.
I can. Hello, Sarah. How are you doing, my dear? You all right?
I'm good, thank you, yeah.
Oh, I can share your empathy with the weather. I managed to get 5 objects out of the whole month. It's absolutely appalling. What were the objects you got?
I got about 37 of them, I think.
Well,
that's good.
So, and I thought 37 was dreadful, but 5 really is bad, isn't it?
Thank you for that.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. I love being abused on national television. What was your favourite object out of the lot?
Was getting the moon, because it's the first time that I've imaged it through the telescope as well as I've done.
There's Patrick here, Patrick Moore. Do you think we got the mix right?
I do. It was nice actually to be able to point out some of the naked eye objects to my son, because he's only 11.
Yes,
and bless him, he's a teeny weeny thing, so he doesn't get up to the telescope, he can't reach it.
I know that feeling.
Nice to have heard you.
And you, thank you, Patrick.
Well, I've enjoyed going through that. I enjoyed observing, and we should say congratulations to everyone who took part, but especially to the 3 people, sorry Pete, I'm not including you, the 3 people who saw all 55. So that's Lee Osborne in Spain, Steve Elliott in Farnborough, and Wayne Young in Thatcham. So well done to those 3 and to everyone.
Absolute bravo.
I think everyone who did it learned something. I most certainly did. I've been looking at the sky now for very nearly 90 years, and still I find things I didn't know, and I found some more of this tonight. So thank you all for your patience, your endurance, and your enthusiasm. And when I come back next month, we'll be talking about the two largest planets of our solar system, Jupiter and Saturn. So until then, good night.
Coming up tomorrow here on BBC HD, we've got the Mastermind series final at 7:30. At 9, the competition continues in Maestro, and then at 10, it's all new comedy with episodes.